There was a left-wing protest in my neighborhood in Vegan, Yerushalayim today, and we could pretend to call it a protest against the government or against the draft law, like they were saying, but let's face it, the real protest was against Haredim, against Torah, against mitzvahs, and that's why they're going to bite Vegan, B'nai Brak. People that they're protesting against have no involvement in the government. This is what they're protesting. So I went at the end. I didn't want to be part of the actual protest. I wanted to speak to people. I wanted dialogue. I went at the end and stopped someone and spoke. I asked, what do you want? What are you here for? And she said, we want all Haredim, all Orthodox Jews to go to the army. I said, all of them. So you're saying none of them go? She said, well, I said, is it possible that there are some Haredim that go? She said, yes, but very, very small. I said, okay, so just to get our bearings, we shouldn't say all Haredim because you're generalizing everyone when you just said that there are Haredim that go. So what you mean is you want the people that are not going to go. She said, okay, that's a good point, and I accept that. So yes, I want them to go. I said, all right, then that's fair. I said, why do you want them to go to the army? You want them to go because you want them specifically in the army, or you want them to just serve the community in some way? She said, well, I want them to serve the community in some way. I asked her, are you familiar with Magen David Adom, the first responders? She said, yes. I said, do you think there are any Haredim that work there? She said, yeah, for sure. I said, how many would you estimate? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands? And what about Yochy? The entire organization is a Haredi organization. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of volunteers. And what about Yad Sarah and Zaka and Ezer Mitzion and all of these organizations where Haredim, Orthodox Jews, are volunteering and serving the community, and they're not distinguishing between Orthodox and non-Orthodox, or even Jew and non-Jew. They are serving people because that's what they're doing. And they're not doing it for 3 years, they're doing it for their entire lives. What about doctors? Are they helping people? How many Orthodox doctors are there? How many Orthodox scientists are there? So when we say that they're not serving people, what do you mean by that exactly? She agreed to that point and admitted that it seems like the majority of the Haredi Orthodox Jewish population is indeed serving the community. And I argue that they all are in some way. Even people that serve, that have a local gemach, a local charity or some sort of organized help for the community, whether it's a gemach or a service which assists with children or children's materials, or for example, there's a medicine gemach in my neighborhood. If you ever need a medicine after hours when the pharmacy's closed, you can go there and you can get it for free even and just replace it the next day. There's a lot of gemachs, and these are just regular people, and they do this for the good of the community. And if you want to claim, well, that's serving the local community, that's not helping people in Tel Aviv. Well, if you had someone with a homeless shelter or a food kitchen in Seattle, would you complain that he's not running the same service in Chicago? No. You would say that the fact that he's serving Seattle is already a very big thing. So I think we have to recognize every single gemach that people organize, all of their charity organizations and efforts to serve each community. And that numbers in the hundreds of thousands. So she admitted that it seems like the Haredim, Orthodox Jews, are doing more than their fair share and more than anyone else when it comes to service and giving back. But she said, that's still not enough. My husband fought in the Yom Kippur War, and he put his life on the line. He was Moser Nefesh. And I said, oh, you don't think that any of these volunteers put their lives on the line? Whenever there's a rocket attack or there's a terrorist attack, who are the first people on the scene? It's always Haredim, whether it's Zaka or Yichud or Magen David Adom. Haredim, Orthodox Jews, are the first ones on the scene. So it's very difficult to say that they're not being moser nefesh and self-sacrificing. She said, but I would like all Haredim to be signed up for the army. I said, I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. I'll make sure all of the Haredim go into the army, and of course, just like the Haredim that are there now, they follow all the instructions in the army, they listen to their commanders, they follow all the laws and the rules of the army, and without exception. So, on condition that I do that, I would like you to send all of the Chilonim, non-religious Jews, to yeshiva. You are requesting a 3-year commitment, so we are requesting a 3-year commitment. Every non-religious Israeli Jew will go to a seminary or a yeshiva, and they will commit to 3 years of full service without ever questioning the rabbi, without contradicting, following all the orders, following all the halachas, following all the 613 mitzvahs, following everything to a T. And this woman made a sour face and said, no, there's no Chiloni, there's no secular Jew who would ever agree to that. And I said, so, ma'am, it doesn't seem like you really care about equality and an equal burden and sharing the burden. It seems like you care more about coercion through the army. She looked at me with astonishment and said, you know, I really have to think a lot about what you said. She told me I should be a rabbi, and she told me that she's glad that we spoke. She agreed with me. She said she had to think about it, and she left the protest with her flag rolled up. A lot of these people that I've met and spoken to mean well, but they don't really think about their positions on a deeper level, and they don't realize the deep contradiction of their opinions. They want to force and coerce religious Jews into their way of life, but then they scream and yell coercion when we say that we don't want buses on Shabbos, or when we say that we don't want changing of a status quo that impacts our lives. We're not going into their homes and telling them what to do on Shabbat or what type of food they should eat or not eat, but they want to come into our homes and tell us what we can and cannot do and how we can and cannot live. What seems more like coercion?